There we go. All right. Anyway, in the 3rd year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a message was revealed to Daniel, whose name was called Belteshazzar. The message was true, but the appointed time was long, and he understood the message and had understanding of the vision. In those days, I, Daniel, was mourning 3 full weeks. I ate no pleasant food, no meat or wine came into my mouth, nor did I anoint myself at all, till 3 whole weeks were fulfilled. There's one line in there that just about an hour ago, there was something popped up I was looking at Mears' book, Daniel Study. And because the message was true, but the appointed time was long. And that what is that? What does that mean? So I thought it was very interesting. But let's see if I can find the part. It talks about the way they use that word, and a lot of your versions has probably got that word, but the appointed time was long. Let me see if I can find where it was here. Skip me out.
There in chapter 8, verse 26, he's talking about that other vision.
Mm-hmm.
And the vision of the evening and the morning which was told is true. Wherefore shut thou up the vision, for it shall be for many days. It's kind of the same thing. Here's a vision,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not for now.
Well, the one what I was reading was there's a different word there.
For true.
It says the message was true, but the appointed time was long. The problem here is that the phrase "the appointed time was long" is not in the Hebrew text. What they use that instead, you will find Hebrew word "sava," or I guess that's how you pronounce it, which means military service or military campaign. As a result, the ESV translates the phrase "the world was true and it was a great conflict." The NIV words, "it's a message was true and it concerned a great war." So that kind of like opened it up a little bit more, you know what I mean? It's kind of about a war. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I thought that was pretty interesting. That changes kind of, because what does that mean? Okay, but the appointed time was long.
See, mine says the message was true and it concerned a great war.
Well,
That's what mine says in the NIV.
Mine has nothing about war.
yeah.
Mine just says the same thing. Probably yours does, where it just says the message.
The time.
And the time was long. The appointed time was long.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it said in the Hebrew text there is no that appointed time was long thing. It says it's a military campaign. So that's interesting. That's pretty good.
Mine says the message was true and it concerned a great war.
So
Wait for him to move.
wait for him to move. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Appointed time's long. He understood. Yeah. You could put that. He's waiting on the Lord there. So where we're at in the 3rd year of Cyrus, by the time the first wave of exiles had returned under the leadership of Ezra 1 and 2, which Ezra was the second of the 3 key leaders to leave Babylon for the reconstruction of Jerusalem, and Zerubbabel's construction the temple in Ezra 3:8. Nehemiah rebuilt the walls, Nehemiah chapter 1 and 2, and Ezra restored the worship. So Ezra was a scribe and a priest sent with religious and political powers by the Persian king Artaxerxes to lead a group of Jewish exiles from Babylon to Jerusalem. So that kind of explains Ezra there. That's what amazes me too. There's so much other stuff in the books that if you just could get it all in your head, you would see it so clearly probably, But
So Ezra reestablished the worship. Nehemiah built the walls. And who was the other one?
Zerubbabel. Good one. Zerubbabel
Oh, yeah. I know.
reconstructed the temple, and that was he was the second of the 3 key leaders to leave Babylon for the reconstruction, because that took 49 years for all that to get finally going.
What verse are you in there?
I'm still in 1-3. I'm just kind of
Okay,
going through
okay.
Daniel 1. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read a section like 1 through 3 and then
Okay.
kind of go into some of it. And I've got some questions coming here in a second to get us. I just got a lot of stuff out of this chapter, and so I just want to share that. And I thought Ezra kind of explaining that helps you get a little bit more perspective on it. But the part where it says the message was true, but the appointed time was long, going back to that
There's a
again.
war thing.
Daniel 10 sets the stage for a spectacular prophecy message in Daniel 11, which described a time of great persecution and testing for the people of Israel. So chapter 10 is setting up 11 and 12. It's really getting ready to push into that. So really, that's probably why that other study did it all together, because it really should all be together probably. There should be chapter 10 at the end, maybe, I think. But it'd been a big chapter, I guess. But what was, I want to go back to Daniel mourning. What was Daniel mourning about? What do y'all think about that? Where it talked about he was mourning for 3 full weeks.
So wasn't it in the previous chapter that he was saying he was surprised at how few Jews are wanting to go back home?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They were happy where they were at.
Mm-hmm. Y'all,
Could it be because of his vision prior, in this prior one? Because remember, he was not feeling very well.
mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, I didn't get to do kind of like me and Jenny. We didn't get to study a lot. I was extremely busy.
I
But
got you.
it is interesting, and I just want to go to that appointed. Is it because it took him so long to get the message to him? You know how he was praying for 3 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is the one or not where the angel's fighting, trying to get to him,
Mm-hmm.
and then finally gets to him after an amount of time. So maybe that was the war. That's why it was the appointed time was so long.
Should be.
I don't know.
I mean, I've gotten several different things here. It's just, some think that Daniel was in mourning because of so few Jews, which is what you mentioned, had returned with Ezra from the exile. Others believe it's because Ezra faced severe opposition in rebuilding the temple. And,
Nehemiah had severe persecution for building the walls.
mm-hmm. And Daniel did not go back with Ezra's group of exiles because he was 84 years old at the time. Who knows? It could have been 90. But Daniel could serve the exiles better from his high position in government than he could with them in Jerusalem. So that's another thing. Why isn't Daniel there? He wanted to go back to Jerusalem. So you just wonder why he wasn't there. So that makes sense. That,
He had health issues.
yeah.
He can't,
Mhm.
build the wall or the rocks or anything else. Then his leadership there would probably, grease the wheels to let his people go.
He had the king's ear right there. And he's right there. So he can go in there and say, hey, they're having issues. Can you help? I think that, like you said there.
That's a letter, make these be done.
Mm-hmm.
In chapter 1 there, it makes reference to the king of Persia.
Mm-hmm.
So revelation was given to Daniel and said its message was true and it concerned the great war. I believe that's speaking about Gabriel and the prince of Persia doing battle as Gabriel was trying to reach Daniel with the message.
Right.
And I say Gabriel because I read something that's identified that the particular scholar that I was reading said that they thought that was probably Gabriel.
Even though the description sounds like, if you're down that far to where the description of that sounds like Jesus in Revelation.
It does sound a lot like Jesus. I mean, you could
Can Satan stand up against Jesus though?
Well, he later says that I needed Michael's help to get here, and Jesus wouldn't have said that.
Michael's
No.
the warrior, right? Michael's the warrior
Mm-hmm.
angel.
But
And
yeah,
Gabriel's the announcer, because he announces,
And
So
that's
you
what-
got that, maybe.
and I asked Sean last night, and I've tried to research it too, about how in Daniel there, the he is not capitalized.
Right.
So I thought, okay, well, it's, but then I looked up stuff, and, Hebrew, there was no capital letters. So we just started doing that with he or you, if it's representing God, capitalizing it. So
We might Google it and see who that angel was.
I've tried. There's, it's, you know, scholars are like, you know.
The ones that I listened to swapped out between Jesus was there part of the time and then the angels was there. When Daniel was on his face, Jesus was the one because the angels always make him stand up.
Mhm.
But Jesus, it's okay. We are supposed to bow and worship him.
That's
So
what
that
I,
was kind of what I was told.
mhm.
And the 3 weeks Daniel did not do anything except pray. The one of the guys said he didn't take a bath, he didn't do anything. He just sat there and prayed the whole time. Huh? Yeah.
But now
Because it
it's,
said he didn't eat anything.
it's
My thought was on the eating. He didn't eat anything that tasted good.
and he's already had
Yeah.
Gabriel show up, so I
Yeah.
doubt he would react that way because
Yeah.
he just started collapsing,
Yeah.
and then he's eating dirt asleep because God of creation showed up. You know, so
Yeah, but if you've been fasting for 3 weeks, you're gonna be
Yeah.
sick as a kitten.
yeah,
You can say boo and I'd be thinking.
that's true. That's true. But the morning 3 full weeks. Some think Daniel was in morning. Well, I said that already. He said I ate no pleasant food, no meat or wine came into my mouth. This guy that I've wrote down this stuff or whatever, he said it would be wrong to call what Daniel did fasting. The biblical idea of fasting is to abstain from food altogether, drinking only water. Daniel definitely practiced a form of self-denial, but was not fasting because he said he just didn't eat good stuff, you know. So, and I looked up fast. I got on the fast click there because we've all tried it in different ways. So I wanted to know what does it mean biblically to fast? And a standard fast biblically means no food, only water or liquids. In Matthew 4:2, we find Jesus being tempted in the wilderness while he fasted for 40 days with only water. Then there's the partial fast, no choice food or meats. So you've got, biblical fasting doesn't have to be limited to abstain from food. There's several other types of fasting included. Partial fast, which is then abstain from specific type of food like meat or wine, which you could say that's what Daniel's doing. A complete fast is drink only water. Liquid fast, remove certain types of drinks from your diet. Supernatural fast, God enables someone to fast in ways that could not do on their own. Fasting from other things would be from electronics, TV, social media, phones, whatever. But I want to give some notes on fasting is a way to show God that you are seeking His attention and help. It can be a way to humble yourself before God and draw closer to Him. Some health conditions may prevent people from fasting from food. Some people can't do that. If this is the case, you can consider fasting from other things that would bend your heart toward greater enjoyment of Jesus. I mean, is that kind of what y'all think about fasting?
Well, yeah, and the Catholics do Lent,
Mhm.
and they'll give up something.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
not the whole gamut, but
Mhm.
they'll, well, this is for Lent.
exactly. I just want to throw that in there because that, again, that's this short chapter. I think, okay, and then stuff just started popping up to me, and I was like, well, what does that mean? He wasn't fasting because this guy said it, and I was like, well, it looks sound like
4
fasting.
years old.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
gotta have something probably.
Mhm.
We have a hard time when we're young, trying to fast on something that I can't imagine. Unless, like I said, with God's help, he could, but he was seeking God's.
Have any of y'all ever fasted for several days with no food, just water or juice? Have you done it?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've made it. Wow. Oh. Oh, okay. I went 3 days for her dad that was sick. He had throat cancer, and we fasted. You did too, right? That was 3 days.
So
It's
just water?
just water. And day 2,
Imagine it gets hard.
because that's why I think Jesus said it's in the verse in there, don't let people see you that way. Try to put some
Yeah,
oil
I was
on,
gonna say, yeah,
because he knows what fasting's going to do. Now I can't imagine, which it's Jesus, but 40 days. And I was talking to Sean, we was talking about that the other day. I think physically, the body, human body, after 40 days, you won't live. And I think Jesus pushed the body, because that's medical stuff. They said you could go without food for about 40 days. And I thought, isn't that weird that he pushed it right to the edge? You know.
I'll tell you, I lived for 2 years on protein shakes and raw eggs.
Wow.
2 years.
Goodness.
Water, protein shakes, and 2 raw eggs a day.
Mm.
How come? Why?
I had tonsil cancer. I had to have radiation, and it got the cancer, but it damaged my throat to the point that I could not swallow anything solid. It had to be liquid. Period.
So now you're all right.
Now I'm back to eating now and moving right along.
Her dad ate cabbage.
He ate what?
Just cabbage. That's the only thing he could eat, cooked cabbage. It
Cabbage?
was soft and it had enough taste. He couldn't taste anything.
I can't taste it.
Mm-hmm. And that was all he could eat. But you know, you'll eat what you have to eat to survive. You know?
You got to do what you got to do. I lost 70 pounds in 7 weeks.
Mm.
And you still have no taste?
No taste. Well, very little. You know, it's really strange. Some things taste just like they did before that radiation. Some things taste that I really enjoyed just taste absolutely horrible. Well, it's just part of it. I'm just proud to be here.
I got up to do too.
I was always like, if I had a stomach virus or something, you know, people don't eat. But I get up from the next day for that, I go straight to the crackers and the Sprite. I start eating something. Seems like it helps me get over it quicker. 'Cause some people won't eat. You just get weaker and weaker, you know, so. We'll get off the medical. On to Daniel 10:4-6. Daniel sees a glorious man on the banks of the Tigris River. Now, on the 24th day of the first month, as I was beside the great river that is the Tigris, I lifted my eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose waist was girded with gold of Uphaz. His body was like beryl, his face like the appearance of lightning, his eyes like torches of fire, his arms and feet like burnished bronze in color, and the sound of his words like the voice of multitude. Now, I mean, what angel? That's either a new angel or it's Jesus, right? I mean,
One of the two.
I mean, it's just because that is, if you read Revelation 1:12-16, that's the one where it describes what Jesus was like. And it says, you know, commentators divide over the identity of that certain man. Some say it's Jesus. No, his description is remarkably like that what John saw in Revelation. Some others think that the certain man is an unnamed angel of high rank. But, you know,
My Bible has a footnote. It says Daniel was visited by a heavenly being, probably an angel, for the messenger spoke of being hindered by the prince of the Persian kingdom and the needing of the help of Michael.
Michael, the other archangel, Gabriel and Michael. I suspect it was Gabriel.
and then, but I mean, it's like, but there again, you know, would Jesus needed help from angels?
Yeah, this one says that in Revelation 1:13-15, and in the midst the 7 candlesticks is one like the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, girt about the paps with a golden girdle. His head and his hairs were white like wool, and white as snow, and his eyes were like a flame of fire, and his feet were like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters.
So
Well, I mean-
just as a side note, you know, Lucifer was the most beautiful angel. And so it makes you wonder who else, I mean, what other angel? It doesn't mean that, you know, that's only 3 angels. I didn't know.
There's Raphael and there's Ariel and
So you got all those angels, so it could have been another one, you know, but
Yeah.
Michael is just the war angel.
I like to go back to what you were saying. That Jesus is there with him talking right here, because if you go on and read it,
Right.
you know, 10, you know, and I, Daniel alone, saw the vision for the men who were with me, in Daniel 10:7, and did not, and the men who were with him didn't see the vision. So what's that sound like? Somebody sees God and they're just struck down, blinded.
It sounds a whole lot like a call on the road.
That's right. That's right. So it's similar to that, you know. So, but a great terror fell upon them, so they fled to hide themselves. And I, Daniel, alone saw the vision. This shows that there was something supernatural about the vision. Daniel saw what he saw regarding the glorious man, but his companions could not see it. This is like the latter instance of Saul on the road to Damascus, when his companions could not hear the same voice from heaven that he heard. Cases remind us that we could be close to the presence and power of God, yet miss the message through a lack of spiritual perception. So they fled to hide themselves, and this guy says, of course they couldn't see the vision because they hid. So that kind of made sense.
Well, but whatever the presence was, it scared them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you don't necessarily have to see what scares you, but you know that there's something there.
Mm-hmm.
You can feel it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, reaction. I mean, Daniel's 80-something years old, hadn't ate, so he's I ain't running and diving behind nothing. He just starts collapsing. So, you know, that could be the case there, but then again, it's focused on Daniel, so I'm sure he just,
He's had visions before.
yeah.
He's
Mhm.
seen it.
That's why it can't be Gabriel probably at that point, because like I said, I think he's seen Gabriel already as a, right? I mean,
But do
previous.
you see him as, like, you know how we say, let's say you're an angel, because I could be talking to you, because it says, you
Yeah.
know, that we can be entertaining angels, which means
Yeah.
I'm not going to see one great 10-foot guy or whatever,
Mhm.
you know, that looks like that, and I'm talking to you. So he could have seen Gabriel as a man, that's why he called him a man.
In a human type
And now
form.
he sees
Yeah.
a man.
Yeah,
Now,
what
I'm
he-
not
what
saying
he
that
looks
I
like.
could go with Jesus,
Yeah.
but you know,
Refresh
that's
my
what they
memory.
look like. They're beautiful, more beautiful than, you know, anything we've probably ever seen. And that's why I say, you know, I was talking to Jenny on the way here, Lucifer was the most beautiful angel. So people draw him as all this ugly thing, but he's not. He's the most beautiful angel. So if he was, that's why he put himself above God, because, you know, I'm better. But I'm thinking too, like you said there, it could be, you know, angel or it could be.
Yeah, I mean,
Because it doesn't
that's
say.
a tough one there. And I've read some things too. It was like, okay, does it really matter for it? But I'm like, it kind of does. It kind of does matter.
Right.
You know, what was you going to
I was going to say, refresh my memory and tell me now, when did Daniel see Gabriel?
Well, he called him the man Gabriel, right? Now, I don't know, because the way Daniel jumps around, would it have been before this? I can't remember.
Yeah,
But,
I've got a mental block there.
Yeah.
I don't recall.
but he does see the man Gabriel. He called him that. And then Gabriel's the one that's telling him interpretations and stuff like that. I'd have to go back. and look.
Okay.
I mean, I can,
I mean,
yeah.
it's like you say, it's no big deal. That's just my own personal.
Mm-hmm. And that, but
Curiosity.
like they were saying, he might have been the man at that time. He called him a man, but this is a different looking. It could have been Gabriel's true form, but it sounds. And if you read, anybody have Revelation?
Daniel 9:21 is when he said, I was still praying, and Gabriel, the man I had seen in the earlier. My phone runs really slow if I'm not.
9:21.
Yeah, Daniel 9:21.
Yeah.
Is while he was still praying, he saw the man.
See, I
Gabriel.
missed that part of the study. I
Revelation.
wasn't able to.
1:12 through 16, real quick. You got NIV too. don't you?
Seeing Gabriel's in chapter 8.
Okay, it says Gabriel, the man I had seen in the earlier vision, came to me in swift flight about the time of the evening sacrifice. So he had seen him in a vision.
So in chapter 8, then, let's see, it's 16, 17, so he came near where I stood, and I was afraid to fall on my face. Let's see, is that Gabriel? Yes. 16 said, yeah, it said Gabriel.
What verse is that now?
Chapter 8, 16. And a man's voice between the banks of Belea, which called, said, Gabriel, make this man understand the vision.
I wanted to read Revelation 1:12 through 16 too, you might have read it. I want to read it out so everyone can hear what the description of Jesus is. Let's see. And then I turned to see a voice that was speaking with me, and having turned, I saw 7 golden lampstands. In the middle of the lampstands, I saw one like the Son of Man, clothed in a robe reaching to his feet, and girded across his chest was a golden sash. His head and his hair were white like wool, like snow. His eyes were like a flame of fire. His feet were like burnished bronze, when it has been made to glow in a furnace, and his voice was like the sound of many waters. His right hand had the 7 stars, and out of his mouth came sharp edge. So it's kind of, the eyes of fire, but the rest of that, I don't know. It's not. It's close, but it's not there completely. So who knows? Like I said, we'll move on from it.
Yeah, because everybody's going to have their own description.
Yeah, that's true, John.
Say light,
That's true. So that's a tough one, but hey, it is what it is. We'll move on to Daniel 7. Daniel 10, verse 7. Daniel's companions are terrified, yet unseen, and I, Daniel, alone saw the vision. And for the men who were with me did not see the vision, but a terror fell upon them, so they fled. So I think I read that one all right. Sorry. Daniel 10, 8, and 9. Daniel's reaction to the sight of the man. Therefore I was left alone. I saw a great vision. And the sound of the words, I heard the sound of the words of the deep. Okay, yeah. And I was left alone when I saw this great vision, and no strength remained in me, for my vigor was turned to frailty in me, and I retained no strength. Yet I heard the sounds of his words, and while I heard the sounds of his words, I was in a deep sleep on my face with my voice to the ground. So we're still on it again. So no strength remained. As godly as Daniel was, he was undone by the vision of the glorious man. Daniel's experience shows us that even the holiest of men fall short before God, and even before his closest associates. So now he's starting to kind of say it's God, Jesus. He says vigor was turned to frailty. Wood, which is someone they reference, says of the word frailty, the word suggests a death-like paleness combined with grotesque wrenching of facial features. So we think of frailty as just you can't move maybe. But that's a kind of a death-like paleness compared with grotesque wrenching of facial features. So it's like Daniel's really having an issue. But
And with mine it says that it was with fright. So he was afraid also.
okay.
Now that's what this one says. I have no idea.
Okay.
Weak and faint with fright.
So
Now, let's face it, if God was standing in front of us, I would be a little bit afraid. But
I just, that's what I'm saying. It's hard. I mean, angels is going to freak us out too, but
yeah.
that. Anyway, we'll move on. Daniel 10 through 11. The certain man introduces himself to Daniel. So all of a sudden, a certain man's introducing himself. Suddenly a hand touched me, which made me tremble on my knees and on the palms of my hands. And he said to me, "O Daniel, greatly beloved." Now, who said that before to him? Who's always calling him greatly beloved or very, it seemed like the angel, or, Gabriel before said that to him, that, you're greatly beloved. Understand the words that I speak to you and stand upright, for I have now been sent to you. While he is speaking this word to me, I stood trembling. So, as he touched him, so I think there's a major break there. And I was looking, I went and looked up the King James Version, our family Bible, we got when we got married a long time ago. And in the way the verse broke, there's some kind of little thing there between that verse and the next verse. It looks like a little black, like a music note, and you don't see it everywhere.
That's a change. That's a change in thought.
There you go. That's what that means. See?
That means that that's a change in thought.
Well, there you go. Right? It's a change. It's a change. Something changed. So I like that. I mean, it means whoever visited him to knock him down is not the person helping him up. Right? Possible. That's why.
Or it doesn't have to be.
Doesn't have to be. Yeah. And as Daniel laid out his weakness by his experience, he was strengthened by a touch of hand. He said, "O Daniel, man greatly beloved." This was the second time Daniel was called greatly beloved. Each time it was a relation to Daniel being favored with a great and significant revelation of the future. It did not do Daniel any harm to know that he was greatly beloved of God, or else he would not have received this information from heaven. Some people are always afraid of that. If Christian people obtain full assurance and receive a sweet sense of divine love, they will grow proud and be carried away with conceit. Do not you have any such fear for the other people, and especially do not be afraid of it for yourselves. I know of no greater blessing that can happen to any man or woman than to be assured by the Spirit of God that they are greatly beloved by the Lord. That's from Charles Spurgeon. And that man could write. I mean, I couldn't even read it right. It flowed a lot better coming from him, I guarantee it. But just, that was beautiful. I just put that in there. I thought that was really nice. But it's a blessing. So, stand up right. When it was time for Daniel to hear and understand, he needed to stand up to attention. So he had to get up so he could understand it. So then we move on to chapter 10, 12 through 14. Verses 12 through 14. The angel explains he's coming to Daniel and the opposition he faced on the way. Then he said to me, "Do not fear, Daniel, for the first day that you set your heart to understand and humble yourself before your God, and your words were heard, and I have come because of your words. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days, and behold, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me. For I had been left alone there with the kings of Persia. Now I have come to make you understand what will happen to your people in the latter days. For the vision refers to many days yet to come."
This is that little symbol.
Right there? Yep, that's it. So,
Mine's gone.
change of thought. That's neat. That is neat. Yeah.
Where is that?
It's,
Mine's on verse 10.
where does it start? Where is it right before which verse is that little symbol?
It doesn't show it in here.
That little symbol you just showed.
Over in chapter 11, verse 5, it shows it. And chapter 11, verse 2 shows it.
It looks like some kind of instrument. Have you all know what? Have you seen it before?
No, I mean, I'm reading,
How did
but
you know that that's what it was?
I mean,
If you
this
look
one
King
is,
King
looks like
James.
King James Version, so
Is that it?
No, it's. Let me see if I can
Mine is like this.
see it right there.
Yeah, hers is. See, mine's like that.
Where was it at?
Verse 5.
Oh, right here it is. See, it looks like a musical note or something, right? Yeah, that's neat. Yeah, I wondered why that was in there, but anyway.
Change of thought.
Mm-hmm.
But how did you know that?
Study it.
Where? I mean, where? Where do you study? How can I know more?
When I'm reading the Bible, see, Greek, in the Greek and Hebrew, there is no punctuation or anything like that. It simply is a change of thought. And I've only learned that by reading, and when I see that the change of thought is there, one of these little marks is always there.
And I want to go back. We should have went to this guy. I mean, to me, Daniel's got to be top 5 prayer warriors in the Bible. I mean, if you can name some that's a lot better than he is. He is one of the, he can pray. And, you know, he said, we can't pass over this lightly. An angel was dispatched because of Daniel's prayer. This is another of many reminders in the book of Daniel that prayer matters. It isn't merely a therapeutic exercise for one who prays. And I went in and looked up some stuff on prayer because I was telling Scudder we need to talk about prayer because Daniel is so much about it. But the 5 secrets of how to pray like Daniel is what I found. And I thought it was pretty interesting. Number 1 is treat prayer as a privilege. Daniel considered prayer a privilege, only praying 3 times a day despite the risk. Openly praying 3 times a day despite the risk. This reminds us to recognize prayer as a privileged opportunity to communicate with the Creator. So embrace prayer with joy. Understand it is not an obligation, but a unique chance to connect with God and seek His guidance. I've done that before. I got to pray today. I've done that. I got to pray. And God's like, no, you don't. If you don't want to talk to me, then don't talk to me. But anyway. 2, establish a regular prayer routine. As mentioned earlier, Daniel prayed 3 times daily. That shows he maintained a regular prayer routine. So set a consistent and dedicated time to pray each day. Create a habit of seeking God in the morning, noon, evening, fostering a continuous and intimate relationship with Him. Number 3, pray openly and boldly with a purpose. Daniel exemplified praying openly even when faced with adversity, just demonstrating a purposeful and steadfast commitment to God. Daniel 6:22. With this approach, prayer with openness and boldness, unapologetically declaring your faith, let your prayers reflect a clear purpose, seeking God's guidance, wisdom, and transformative power in your life. 4, sorry, I'm reading all this, but declare God's promises in your prayers. You do that all the time, Scudder. You know, I've heard you say it.
Yeah.
As Daniel did, align your requests with the assurance that God keeps His covenant and mercy to those who love Him. Daniel 9:4. Recall specific biblical promises relevant to your situation. So we're going to have to read the Bible.
That's right.
Reinforcing you're going to have to learn the Bible to pray. You know, the way Daniel did. Reinforcing your confidence in His faithfulness. And believe in the power of prayer. Daniel's life attests to the efficacy of prayer as seen in his deliverance from the lion's den and his unwavering faith in God's promise. With this, believe that transformative power of prayer to bring about change, seeking divine intervention and strengthening your connection with God. And that I thought that was really good because that is kind of...
Number 5 again, please.
5 was believe in the power of prayer. You got to believe it.
Believe it.
And you've said that too. That goes back based on what you say. Hey, you said it.
Yeah.
So.
You promised it.
Yeah.
I want you to do it.
But I don't pray like that. I mean, those 5, that's amazing, you know. That's.
I don't think many people do. I mean, truly, at least people I know. I mean, Scudder does, at some point that you get to hear, but you don't hear many people.
I still do.
Well, and it depends on the circumstances. Because I have, not very often, but a couple of times in my life, and it's usually connected with my kids. You told me you would take care of them, so I expect that to be done.
Yeah.
These kinds of things.
I pray over them,
Yeah.
so they're yours now. You
Yes,
cover them.
because I cannot protect them anymore. Yeah.
Well, I said, when you wake up, you got to pray. You need to pray when you wake up. Well, I'm busy. I was telling a friend of mine that, and they said, well, get up earlier.
Got an answer for everything.
Just stabbed me. I went, oh. But anyway.
I used to tell my mom, she'd get up at 5 o'clock in the morning because she had a job that she had to be at state. So she'd get up at 5 o'clock so she could read and study her Bible and do her prayer thing. And I would go, and then she'd come in at night when I am so tired and going, well, if you didn't get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and she'd go, but I couldn't make it through the day if I didn't get up and do that first.
There you go. Yep.
You talk about prayer. Jesus told us in the scriptures how to pray. Point blank.
Lord's Prayer.
That's right. I start my morning before I even roll out of bed with the Lord's Prayer. The last thing I do at night is the Lord's Prayer. Every day. Every day. You know, now I say every day, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. There are days that I miss it. But I
think we can
try.
tell them.
I try to start and end every day with that Lord's Prayer. And I base that simply on the fact that that's what Jesus told us to pray. And then the scripture also tells us to pray continuously. That's when we talk to God about little things that come up during the day. And it says, cast your cares on me. When something's bugging you, tell him. Give it to him. Give it to him. But to make it all work, you got to give up.
Don't take it back.
You got to give up to God. You got to say, Lord, I'm yours.
You're going to take care of it for me.
You're going to do it because you said you would do it, and you cannot lie. That's the story that I tell every time, and I'm not changing. You said you would do it, and it's impossible for God to lie. So if you pray according to the scriptures, you can be guaranteed that God will answer that prayer. It's a give me. Now, there's nothing in the scriptures about a new GMC pickup or things such as that. You follow me?
Well, the way I look at it
Pardon me
too.
for
No,
jumping
that's
in.
good. No, we've talked about prayer before, but as soon as you get off the line, when you're praying, amen, you don't sit there and go, well, I hope God heard me. I hope he answers that. And what could I do to make that happen? You start going back to you,
Go pick
and
it
then
up, put it right back on.
lack of faith, and you know.
I think all of us need to pray more. In my lifetime, I've known 2 men that had calluses on their knees because of their prayer life.
That's awesome.
So Chuck was a cop, one cop for a department of one, but he was always called when something was going down in Breckenridge, and he said, there's one of the shortest prayers he's ever used is, "They will be done," and then you go, you do it.
That's awesome. Yep. I mean, we don't have to be elegant like Charles Spurgeon. We don't have to be a big, paragraph or 2 paper. So, but I think that structure helps. But
You can say all the fancy words you want to. Sound good.
Yep.
Yeah, I thank God if I started praying like Spurgeon or something, he would look at me, who are you? Who are you? What are you doing? That's not you. Okay? That's not you. But we go back to I threw that prayer in there, but it goes on to about the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me. Since this prince was able to oppose the angelic messenger to Daniel, we know there's more than a man. This prince was some kind of angelic being, and we know he was an evil angelic being because he opposed the word of God coming to Daniel and stood against the angelic messenger. The word prince has the idea of a ruler or authority. This fits well with the New Testament idea the angelic ranks are organized and have a hierarchy. Ephesians 1:21, it's got several verses. I can post this on YouTube too. These angelic ranks seem to include both faithful angels and fallen angels. Apparently, this was a demon of high rank that opposed the answer to prayer. That's terrifying.
So the very first verse is in the 3rd year of Cyrus, king of Persia. That was happening right over Daniel's head.
Yeah.
That's Persia.
Yep. And apparently this is the demon's high rank that opposed the answer to prayer. On 3 occasions, Jesus referred to Satan as prince of this world. So, and then it withstood him 21 days. Since the angel was dispatched immediately and Daniel's period of prayer and self-denial was 21 days, we see that the answer to the prayer was delayed by the prince of the kingdom of Persia. The correlation between Daniel's time of self-denial and the prayer and the duration of the battle between angels and the prince of the kingdom of Persia establishes a link between Daniel's prayer and angelic victory. Since the angelic victory came on the 21st day, we can surmise that if Daniel would have stopped praying on the 20th day, the answer may not have come. So, persistence. Stick with it. Keep praying. This may be hindering factors in which praying Christian knows nothing as he wonders why the answers to his request are delayed. Nevertheless, he is to keep on praying. It may be that he will not receive the answer because he has given up on the 20th day when he should have persisted for the 21st day. That was Archer said that. But I thought that's just, you have to go through that when you say a prayer. There's something battling that prayer. That's you stirred up that war above us that we can't see, So that's what's amazing.
Was Michael the angel that cast Satan out of heaven?
Michael's the warrior. He's the battle.
He's the one.
Yeah.
So he's the main general.
What did he
The
kill?
main- he's
He
the
killed
big
what?
guy.
187,000 soldiers or something like that.
Yeah.
100 and some big number in one night. He
One
just
night.
came down and wiped. I forget where that was, but yeah, he's the.
He's the one.
The scripture tells us to back all this up in the New Testament, and the verse says, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, about rulers, with rulers of the darkness of this world, and spiritual wickedness in high places. So, that's just affirmation after affirmation after affirmation that there's a spiritual battle going on. And the only tool we've got to fight that with is prayer. That is our sword, this word and our prayer.
Sort of like that book, Piercing the Darkness. I don't know if you know, it was talking about the angels. That's really good. But I know it's fiction, but what they're, you have this little church and you have an old lady who's praying, and she's constantly praying, so she's always on her knees, and so they are praying, and that's how the angels get their strength. I realize they're strong, but this is just like I said, it's just it's a fiction, but nonetheless, so and the more people that pray, the more the strength they get, and the more that can come and protect, to protect you, or to give you the answer, is if you stop, like you said in there, if he stops praying, then where does that strength go? Because now God has sent them, but if they're fighting, God can do anything, but apparently angels fight with the demons. Because there's a lot of demons.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
I don't know
But
who's
there's a lot of angels.
There are.
Good ones.
I don't know who's played sports here before, but if you walk into an arena that people are cheering against you, for you, it changes you.
Yeah, you feel
So if you're praying,
Yes.
if you that prayer, the angels are like, hey, he's not even praying. So
and they make
so that's, you start praying something, you better be strong. Was you gonna say something? I thought you were saying
If you want to go down one more.
Okay. All right.
Do you remember when Bush
What was that?
had the
Still praying fast.
mess with
Yep.
the voter,
It's
and
true.
Florida had to count the chips and the chads, and then they had to recount everything to make sure
Yes,
that
hanging
Bush
chad.
was,
Hanging
I
Chad.
remember the thing on the chance.
Our son Vernon was in the cowboy band here at Hardin Simmons, and they had everything planned to go and be in the inaugural parade for Bush. Well, it got postponed until, and then the alumni came up, so they finally got to go. Vernon came home and he said that when the cowboy band came around, it was a corner to go in front of that platform, where they have the president and everybody. He said, you hit a wall of hate, because they had all of those protesters who were protesting the election, and a lot of them were paid, but he said he'd never felt that before. It was a wall of hate, and those boys went through it, I didn't know.
Yep.
That's what Antifa was, a bunch of paid protesters.
Yes, sir.
When you walk into that atmosphere of hate and evil, you feel it. God lets you know it's there. Yeah, it is. It's scary.
But then I go back to Isaiah 43:1. Fear not, for I have called thee by thy name.
And then, towards the end here, I see, let me get through, I'll read the rest of it here. Daniel 15, basically they go into 11:1. So that tells you right there, it flows into chapter 11. But it says, when he spoke such words to me, I turned my face toward the ground and became speechless. Suddenly one having the likeness of sons of men touched my lips. Then I opened my mouth and spoke, saying to him who stood before me, my Lord, because the vision of my sorrows have overwhelmed me, and I have retained no strength. For how can this servant of my Lord talk to you, my Lord? As for me, no strength remains in me now, nor is any breath left in me. Then again, the one having the likeness of a man touched me and strengthened me. And he said, O man, greatly beloved, again, fear not. Peace be to you. Be strong. Yes, be strong. So when he spoke to me, I was strengthened and said, let my Lord speak, for you have strengthened me. And I look back at that, when Jesus fasted for 40 days, and he's coming, it said the angels came to him and kind of helped him. I mean, they gave him, I guess, food.
Spiritual strength.
Yeah, because I think Jesus is a man then. He is God, but he's a man right there. So that's where they said, well, see, Jesus did need help from angels. Well, he was a man then, but here he wouldn't have been incarnated as a man. So we go back to that thing again. But anyway, I just thought that was interesting. But going on down, then he said, do you know why I've come to you? And now I must return to fight with the prince of Persia. And when I have gone forth, indeed the prince of Greece will come. But I will tell you what is noted in the scripture of truth. No one opposed me against these except Michael, your prince. Also in the first year of Darius the Mede, even I stood up to confirm and strengthen him. So that's where it went into chapter 11. So evidently we've got these princes over these kingdoms that are demonic, right? I mean, these angels that are demonic over all these kingdoms. You had the prince of Persia. Now he's got to go back and deal with the prince of Greece, which is the foreshadow, here comes the Greeks, So I thought that was interesting that's said. So it says here, Daniel's about to receive the answer to his prayer, but the battle is not over for his heavenly messenger. First, he must battle the prince of Persia, then the prince of Greece. God watched out for Israel, working behind the scenes in the spiritual realm. The heavenly warfare is to be directed against the first Persia and then the Greece, because each of these in turn will have power over God's people. No, and that was some Baldwin that said that. Sorry. But no one upholds against these except Michael, your prince. Michael seemed to be an angel guardian of Israel, battling against the demonic representative of Persia or any other opposed God's people. On earth, Israel seemed lowly and weak, but in the heavens, Israel had the mightiest representative of all. So, Michael, that kind of makes sense, right? You put your strongest person over Israel because of what they got to go through. Now I had an interesting conversation a while ago about Jews. Why are they God's people? It's a negative thing, and it's just like the church has replaced the Jews as God's people. And that's just not true, because that's what the whole thing is about in Revelation, is getting the Jews back to believe in Christ.
To read that in there and make themselves as now, because it says, literally, you can't get past it. And I know they're changing. They have some new Bibles coming out that are taking out Israel, anything that has to do to talk about them. At least they were a couple of years ago, trying to come out with that, so that way the church can be God's people and not by changing it. Of course, we know better, but that's how they see it.
Jesus was a Jew.
Yeah.
That's why he wasn't a Christian. But I just,
Not a Gentile.
you know, it was brought up about how the Jews, you know, oh, they own so much and they're just evil. Some of them are evil. I'm like, well, there's people that call themselves Christians that do some bad stuff, you know, so.
You can't condemn a faith or a religion on one bad actor.
Exactly.
Tell you what, those are God's people. That's the end of that.
Because he said, I chose you. The
They,
Jews didn't choose him.
you
He
know,
chose them.
Well, I was asked that, why did God choose them? And I said, well, you got to go back to Abraham. And it's hard to explain it, you know, in 20 minutes because we just had a conversation. So,
yeah, and you know, Abraham was a Gentile. And you know, God saw him as a righteous man. He chose Abraham and cut covenant with him. That covenant is still in force today. It hasn't changed. You know, again, we're talking about prayer. God's going to do what he said he would do. That's a covenant agreement. Again, it's impossible for God to break a covenant. You know what I mean?
And he made it with himself, by himself, right? Didn't Abraham go to sleep?
Yes.
And where he went through that himself.
And I'll tell you why Abraham went to sleep. Because God put him to sleep. So Abraham would not have any part of that covenant. That would be strictly a covenant cut by God. It's not dependent or contingent on Abraham or his descendants' obedience to the covenant. You see what I'm saying? In the old days, if you cut a covenant, if you violated that covenant, the punishment for that was death. The covenant was rendered null and void, and you got the axe or whatever. I mean, it was very serious business. So God took Abraham. He cut it with Abraham, but he took Abraham out of the picture, so it couldn't be. What's the word I'm looking for? Help me out here. It couldn't be violated by a man. You follow me?
Yeah.
Now that's the way I understand it. If I'm wrong, tell me.
but I mean, how many people did God put to sleep at a certain time? You think, because you mentioned Abraham, he let him kind of go into sleep. He put Daniel to sleep. I guess if that's Jesus, he put him to sleep. So it's in just other places. It seemed like other places in the Bible, I went into a deep sleep or something.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
France or whatever.
yeah, I think you come out of this world a little bit, and God, you know,
Yeah.
I think it's like being anesthesia. Yeah, you know, you wake up out of that, you're out of it. But anyway, that's just.
I think he does that to get your attention. You know, when he puts you to sleep, he can spiritually communicate with you. You're not distracted.
On all levels. Our subconscious is working while we're
Absolutely.
sitting here talking.
Constantly.
But when God puts you to sleep, he has your whole attention every day.
That's what's such a hindrance with prayer. You start out, and then all of a sudden you go over here, and before you know it, you're up here, and then you're over here, and pretty soon you're up and doing something that you're thinking about when you started praying. And I'm speaking strictly for me, not y'all, just for me. That's the way it works for me. Well, I have to be.
Prophecy is interpretation of dreams. It's a lot of that is concerned with the prophecy. So when we're asleep, you know, it's like being aware of what's been sent into our minds in our sleep, in our dreams. And the interpretation of dreams is a big thing all through the Bible. What does this dream mean to me? It's like, it's not something that my conscious mind that, you know, says fill up the car with gas, I use my card or write a check, or it's doing all that sort of stuff. It doesn't interfere in that. It comes from that other place that's not concerned with all of this worldly matters and all of these
It says in certain prophecy areas, I'm trying to remember where, but in the end times, men will have dreams. Even the young men will have dreams. So, that's God saying, hey, I'm going to still be kind of talking to y'all, but it's going to, I'm not going to show up the burning bush with you, but I'm going to give you some dreams.
Well, and we've got the Muslims that are having dreams and getting saved.
Yeah.
I mean, that's happening now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So they're still there.
Mm-hmm.
Think of the spiritual war above the bombs and the destruction and the deaths.
Mm-hmm.
What is happening in the spiritual war?
Oh, yeah.
It's just down a moment.
Yep. It's what's happening in the spiritual world when we're praying, things that's going, we don't see it. Now, I had a thought today. I don't know if it's true. I don't believe that these angels right now, the bad and the good ones, I don't believe they're killing each other. They're trying to, I think it's maybe a fist fight, pushback. It's a wrestle.
Because they're gonna get thrown in Hades if they're dead already.
I mean, because if you wanted Michael to kill him, Michael could kill him now.
Right.
But for some reason, Michael doesn't kill him, I don't think. He just shows up when one of his is kind of getting beat back a little bit and clears the way. So that's just my thought on it. I don't know. Does that I mean, I don't know. It's just a thought.
My understanding is the spirit doesn't die, and demons are a spirit.
Yeah.
Until God finishes it all off.
There you go.
That's what I've heard.
There you go. Because that's what I thought. It's like, well, they're battling up there. Why don't Michael just kill them? But that's reserved for God to call it. God's got to call it. So, that's I thought that was really interesting. But that's got it. I'm sorry that it's like a water hose, it's like a fire hose, because I start going and I'm like, I got to finish that. What's the clock? And I don't want to keep y'all here till midnight.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
You'll know.
Yeah.
It took me years. I didn't figure that out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just I start reading faster and faster because I know there's certain things I want to get through, and I didn't have as many questions tonight, but you all don't need questions. y'all are gonna come up with stuff anyway. I don't have to worry about y'all just sitting there twiddling your thumbs. You're gonna say stuff, and I love that. And I think that's God working in the scriptures. But prophecy is a passion. You love it. You just love it. And it's a great thing, and just things there, but to open you up about it. You think of Daniel 10, and you're like, and then boom, all that comes out of it. The Bible is like just a fountain, yeah.
And this is going down a rabbit hole. There's somebody in the Bible, I can't remember who, that I'm going to say Elijah and Elisha, maybe, where Elijah prays and opens up Elisha's eyes so that he can see what's going on. Remember that? But it's in the Bible. I didn't remember who. So I'm just using. And so he was able to see the spirit world and see them battling. And sometimes I've done that. I would kind of like to see that. No, I don't. Because they might be right here.
Oh, yeah.
But it's interesting that he is able to. I'm sure if he wished it, not wished, but pray, he might. I just don't want to do that. But it's interesting that you can see it because it is real. Just because we can't see it doesn't mean it's not real. And they are fighting, and it was a battle. It was a war between the spirits, but not just a war between what's going on between
and
men.
Same spirits are still fighting over there today. And I keep thinking, well, they would have got tired and gone home, but I thought, no, that's what they're there for, is to continue the battle.
Yeah. Well, I said early on in this, I said, wouldn't it have been cool to be a prophet and God's giving you visions and everything, but now you see what these prophets go through. I'm going to throw you in a lion's den, or I'm going to burn you up. Nah, I'm good. Just let me read it later. I'll be all right. But anyway, does anybody else got anything to wrap it up? Or
There's a lot of very strict situations about being a prophet. Number one, if God tells you and you prophesy something, and there's a time frame on it, it must come to fruition in that time frame. Other than that, you're a false prophet. Also, you cannot do any prophesying for money. We had a lady come to Llano, and everybody was falling all over this. Oh, she can do this, she can tell this. And I said, something ain't right. About 6 months later, some big company up in the Dallas-Fort Worth sent for her to come prophesy over their company for a certain amount of money. And I said, I knew something wasn't right, because if you study all of the prophets, everything that they said on the timeline has come true. There's still a few things that are still out there, but none of the prophets took any money or any increase for what they did.
Yeah. And that period where it's stopped, you know, like from the Old Testament and New Testament, the quiet, whatever, I forget what they call that, but it's just nothing's happening during that time, you know. So
Maybe they were killing their prophets. Maybe
Yeah.
they got so organized in their government that if somebody come up that was a prophet, that we have to get rid of this guy or we'll be out of control.
and Jesus condemned them for that. So you killed all the prophets. You know,
Yeah,
you killed the
yeah.
prophets. So anyway, well, folks, I appreciate it and thank you. And I'll pray and get out of here and go watch the